it's true, we are far, far smaller than the public sector banks, but still, we're talking about, I think, South Indian is probably 800, 900 branches, and we are about 1250 branches. Our strength is, even though we are national and all India in nature, there are concentrations where we are very, very strong, and for banks like ours, we're very strong in the home state, which is Kerala. We have like over 600 branches just in one little state. So it becomes easier for us in terms of financial inclusion to penetrate and get very accurate data and to map the whole thing much more easier. Even though the population is very high, you know, we've got about 33 million people in Kerala. So that is a strength that we have. Now, it's not that we're going to be able to go and do financial inclusion in, say, Chhattisgarh or Jharkhand or something where we don't have such a large network of branches. But in certain states where we are focused on, we're able to do that. But I think the most important thing is that the ability to go down to the last mile is easier for banks which are focused on particular regions. And I think that's one point in our favor. In terms of technology, I mean, if you go back 20, 25 years ago, the foreign banks were a lead on all Indian banks in terms of technology. But today, everyone is on the same level playing field. You know, you use the same systems and they're upgraded at frequent intervals. So there's no difference in technology. I think the weakness in India today is, are we getting enough bang for the buck for the money we spend on technology? Because while we have the great advantage in ATMs across the country and our basic accounting systems cater to all our customers' needs on the basic stuff, the internet connectivity is very low, for instance. You know, in terms of, in my place where I live, if I move from one part of my house to another part, I'm picking up the Wi-Fi of my neighbor. Okay, and if you drive from here to Bandra Kurla itself, you get cut off 3-4 times. So while we talk about ICICI having had this Wi-Fi town or village, how do we get that across the whole country? Because if all this has to succeed, you need that connectivity, and that's our single biggest problem. Number two is financial literacy. Now we have that in Kerala, it'll be easier for us to implement, but how all these wonderful things that we're planning, it's great. And even if 75% of it comes true, I think it's fantastic. But I think there's a serious problem in terms of financial literacy of how do we get those people to use all this gadgetry that are being evolved and designed and make it work. And how do we get the connectivity into the last? Those are particular areas which are a problem. But part of it is solved by this new payment banks that are coming through because they'll put into technology and they'll also have to work with banks on the literacy part of it. And literacy also, I must add, is just a couple of weeks ago, we were all told that all banks must pick up one school and have literacy at the school level from 6 to 18. And that's 120,000 schools that are going to be covered. The whole thing has to work in a, I would say, cooperative mode between, say, the banks, 120,000 bank offices, 155,000 post offices, all these small payment banks coming up. This is how it's all going to work. The ecosystem will have problems. What Mr. Venkatraman talked about is 5,000 rupee overdraft. There is a general tendency in the country that if it's government supported, you don't have to pay it back. Okay? And that happens with most insurance schemes. These are worries that we have. So technology is great, but its implementation is going to be tough. There's money that's going to be given. How do we recover it is number two, a second factor. So, but whatever it is, even if you hit 60, 70, 75% of it, it's progress. And that's what I would say.